I'm just curious how you arrived at being more or less, I guess, a materialist when there is kind of all this other stuff that I just mentioned to consider.
Well, consciousness is the big objection to materialism. It's the thing that screams out that there's something more than the mere material. Even just when you have an average dream, it's fascinating to think what's going on there. You've got images in your head. You can close your eyes and you can picture things. You can see colors. You can see shapes in your head. Like, where are those shapes? And the great mystery is that I spoke about this recently on YouTube, and people kind of, in my comment section, they really didn't like this idea. And maybe I'm just getting something wrong here, but I was talking about how, like, if everything you experience, if everything in the brain is reducible to the material, when I close my eyes and see a triangle, there really is a triangle there, I can see it. It's there. And I think, well, where is that triangle? The materialist has to say it's reducible to just somewhere in your brain. But if I cut open your brain, I'm not going to find a triangle inside of it, right? And people thought that this was a bit silly because it's kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of like if you cut open a computer, you're not going to find the thing that it's displaying on the screen. But you still have the screen displaying the triangle, right? Like in your mind, you just have the mind. There is no interface. It's just the computer. It's as if the computer itself, somehow there was a triangle in the computer's own first-person subjective experience. Like, where is that triangle that you can picture in your head? Where the hell is it? I mean, if it's just in the head, then that's a great mystery, like you say. And that's the simplest mystery of all. I mean, let alone sort of NDEs or weird personal experiences that you might have. I mean, those are a different story altogether. Just reflecting on the nature of being able to see things with your mind. I mean, that's crazy. However, look, there's an equally strong mystery in the opposite direction. If your consciousness is not just the materials of your brain, then this thing called the interaction problem. Why does it interact with the brain? Why is it that if I change your physical brain, I will change your mind at the same time? And in fact, I can't change your mind, or you can't change your mind without something in your physical brain changing. If your mind is not just your brain, and if the mind is immaterial, right? Just think about what it means to say immaterial. It means not made of stuff, of matter. This microphone, the air around us, it's all matter, it's all stuff. To say something's immaterial, to say it is, you kind of picture it as maybe like floating between us or something, or like no, it's not in this space. It doesn't exist. So if that's the case, if that's what the mind is, then why the hell does prodding my brain affect this immaterial mind thing? That makes as much sense as me prodding this microphone and affecting your mind. If I could like take chunks out of this microphone, if I could prod this microphone and it made you feel anxious, and prod it on the other side and it made you think of an elephant, that would be really strange. You think, what the hell is going on there? How is that even connected? But is it any more mysterious that I can poke your physical brain? We're just used to it being in the brain. We're just used to the brain being the focal point of consciousness. We say, yeah, of course, if I poke the brain, I can make you picture an elephant. But why the hell can I do that? We could just as easily get used to the idea of this microphone. If I prod it, it makes you feel anxious. But that would be no less a mystery. That's the great mystery. If you believe in this immaterial realm. And so for me, a consideration like that makes me think, okay, maybe there's some material stuff going on. Because that to me seems even more mysterious, let's say, than the triangle in my head. I mean, that is weird, but it's I think it'd be a lot weirder to think that you could just affect this other world of immaterial stuff,
right,
by prodding something physical. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think they're both really important to explore, because they're both fascinating, and I fully see and understand both sides as well. I suppose I'm really intrigued by certain, I guess what you would call mystics, that share about their experience and, instances that I've, sometimes personally had where it at least appears within myself and my own consciousness that it's actually separate from my body. Like you can have an experience where what you perceive as you is outside of your physical body. And that's really interesting to me too, because I don't know what's going on there, but maybe that, points us towards that our consciousness, even though, like you mentioned, it is so intrinsically connected and linked for whatever reason to our brain, that there might be something going on outside of it, you know?
But I suppose even in that scenario where if I caught you right in the midst
Right.
of like an ego death or in the midst of a near-death experience, like I mean, to be crude about it, like put it this way, right? So imagine the typical near-death experience. You're on the operating table and you're floating above your body and you're looking down, you're seeing yourself being operated on. I suppose the question is like, what do you think would happen if I walked in right as that was happening? You're floating above your body.
Just took a baseball bat.
And I just like crushed your brain.
Yeah.
Like it's possible that the ghost floating above the body would see that happen and go, oh, I can't get back. I guess I'll just keep going up to the spirit world. I mean, yeah, it's possible, sure. But it might also be the case that the whole thing just collapses somehow. And if there's any part of you that thinks that that might be possible, then that's the part of you that thinks it's possible that NDEs are just some kind of projection of the mind. I can't say that is what would happen. I don't know what would happen if I, caved your skull in while you were having a near-death experience. It seems like a fairly unethical laboratory test to try to induce. I'd be fascinating to know what the results are. So similarly, in those moments, let's say that you're having a really powerful ego death on psychedelic drugs and you feel completely disconnected from anything physical. If I came to you and shot you in the back of the head with a gun, I'm pretty sure that that experience would come to an end. Even though experientially you're way over there somewhere, completely disconnected from your body, it would tether you right back to your brain, I think, if I were to shoot you in the head. Again, I can't prove that's the case, but it seems to me that that would happen. And if that's the case, then it is just purely experiential. I mean, like it's weird to think where you feel like you are. You feel like you have a body, right? Like I don't feel identical with my foot. I don't feel like I'm in my foot either. I feel like I'm in my head, but maybe that's just because it's where my sense organs are. My eyes are up here, my ears are up here, I smell and everything is up here. Maybe that's the only reason why I feel like I'm in my head. I really want to do this experiment with like the Apple Vision Pro. Got this idea from Anil Seth, who's a great guy to talk to about consciousness, where you live for like a month or something with an Apple Vision Pro on your head, and it's showing you the world, but from the perspective of your like belt buckle. And you just live like that for a month. So when you put out your hand and you expect it to be below you, it's actually above you. And that'd be really weird at first, but I wonder if you get used to it. And I'd wonder if you'd get used to it to the degree that you started to feel as though you were located in your belt buckle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you agree with me that you feel that I feel like I'm up here. I feel like I'm inside my skull. That's where I sit in my body. And I wonder if that would change by dragging it sort of down to the belt buckle and what that would sort of, that would probably make it easier to bring out the weirdness of the brain affecting our experience if we didn't so readily identify with this as the actual position where my soul sits in my head,
For sure, yeah. I think for the vast majority of time, the seat of my experience does feel projected from my head region while I'm in conversation or working. But then also like in deeper meditations, it becomes a full body kind of awareness, and it's not like hyper located in my head, which I think is very interesting. And I would be curious to see what would happen in that Apple Vision Pro instance as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's I suppose in those instances and some kind of deep meditation where you manage to remove that feeling of yourself as your head and just become more identified with your whole physical body, that's an incredible skill to be able to recognize that you're not just sort of up here somewhere. You're not sitting inside your skull. You just are this body. If you're a materialist, that would be a really useful experience to have. I'd love to be able to do that meditatively. I'd love to have the skill to be able to become identified with my foot, to feel that foot is me as much as my head is, because it would really help me to get to grips with feeling like a material being. Because I still very much feel like I am an immaterial thing. Things happen to me. You could prod my brain. What do you mean my brain? That's like saying my me if you think that the brain is just the self. If you're a materialist, you can't say my brain. Okay, so maybe that would help. But also maybe the intuitive force of that feeling should give us reason to think that we're not, just material. Like sure, I'm totally open to it, man. I have no idea what happens. And like I say, there are already enough mysteries to be getting by with on the daily without considering all of this extra stuff. So I'm totally open. That's why I said earlier that I'm more or less a materialist. Yeah. It's sort of a de facto materialism until proven otherwise.
Sure, yeah.